The sun at the Circuito de Jerez doesn't just shine, it glares. It reflects off the visor of a man who was promised the world, only to find himself fighting for scraps at the back of the pack. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu sits in the Yamaha garage, his chest heaving, his eyes fixed on a telemetry screen that tells a story of mathematical failure. In the world of MotoGP, physics is a cruel judge, and lately it has been handing out a life sentence to the Yamaha YZR M1. For decades, Yamaha was the surgeon's scalpel, the bike that could carve a line so tight it defied logic. But in 2026, the scalpel is blunt. As the Paddock arrives in Spain, a heavy silence hangs over the blue garage. The rumors are no longer whispers, they are screams. Yamaha is desperate. They are changing their DNA, abandoning their traditions, and turning their back on a philosophy that won them dozens of world titles. But as the garage doors slide open for the first practice session at Jerez, something is different. There are more engineers, more screens, and 2 extra bikes across the paddock draped in the purple of Prima Pramac. No one inside the paddock expected what would unfold next, and it would change everything for him, his team, and the entire season. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu was never supposed to be here. A rider who conquered the world superbike stage with an arrogance that bordered on the supernatural, he arrived in MotoGP as the great hope. But the transition has been a brutal awakening. In the superbike paddock, he was the master of the stoppie, a rider who could stand a 160-kilogram machine on its nose and still make the apex. In MotoGP, that same aggression is a liability. The YZR M1 is a temperamental beast. While Toprak's braking remains the gold standard of the grid, the bike's refusal to accelerate out of the corners has turned his Sunday afternoons into a nightmare. He outbrakes a Ducati entering turn 1, only to be passed by 3 bikes before he even hits third gear on the straight. It is a psychological war of attrition. Behind the scenes, the stress is showing. Insiders claim that Toprak's camp has been in heated discussions with Yamaha management. The frustration isn't just about the points, it's about his identity. He is a predator who has been forced to become the prey. Yet, as the Jerez weekend begins, Toprak isn't looking at the exit of the corners anymore. He's looking at the data coming from a garage he doesn't even belong to. For years, Yamaha stood alone as the last defender of the inline-4 engine. It was a matter of pride, a Japanese tradition of balance and flow. But the 2026 season has officially killed that pride. The secret is out. Yamaha has been testing a V4 engine behind closed doors. The transition is messy, expensive, and technically volatile. The V4 is a forbidden fruit. It brings the raw horsepower needed to compete with the Italian giants, but it threatens to destroy the M1's legendary front-end feel, the only thing Toprak has left to lean on. Technical analysts have noted that the new engine's heat signature is causing massive tire degradation issues, a problem that could turn a 25-lap race into a survival exercise. But the real tension isn't just under the fairing, it's in the boardroom. Some engineers believe that rushing this transition will ruin their chances for the 2027 regulations. They are sacrificing the present for a future they can't yet see. And as the bikes are wheeled out for the first session in Spain, a rumor begins to surface. The engine in the Pramac garage isn't the same one in Toprak's bike. The alliance between Yamaha and Prima Pramac Racing was the most controversial move of the offseason. Pramac was the crown jewel of the Ducati satellite system, the team that helped Jorge Martin reach the summit. For them to jump ship to a struggling Yamaha was seen as a betrayal by some and a suicide mission by others. But there is a method to the madness. In 2026, Pramac has become the sacrificial lamb. Under a new, aggressive technical strategy, the satellite team is no longer there to win races. They are there to fail so that the factory team can succeed. Every session at Jerez is a frantic experiment. While Toprak focuses on his race pace, the Pramac riders are sent out with Frankenstein setups, extreme chassis geometries, and experimental aero packages that would be too risky for the lead rider. The data is piped directly into a new real-time analysis system, a digital bridge between the 2 garages that allows Yamaha to compress months of development into a single afternoon. But this pressure is creating a rift. Rumors suggest that the Pramac mechanics are growing weary of being treated like a laboratory rather than a racing team. Yet, this was only the beginning of a far bigger storm. As the Friday sessions at Jerez conclude, the data paints a terrifying picture. Yamaha's new analysis system is working, perhaps too well. It has revealed that the M1's corner exit weakness isn't just an engine problem, it's a fundamental flaw in how the electronics manage rear-wheel traction. Toprak is fast, but he's fighting the computer. Every time he tries to use his trademark aggressive throttle application, the electronics cut the power to prevent a high side, leaving him a sitting duck on the straights. The engineers are at a crossroads. Do they give Toprak the control he craves and risk a massive crash, or do they keep the safety net and accept a mediocre finish? Inside the garage, the atmosphere is electric with tension. Crew chiefs are seen in heated arguments over Map 3, a setting that supposedly offers more power but has been linked to several heavy setbacks in testing. The weight of expectation is crushing. Yamaha isn't just fighting for a podium, they are fighting to prove they still belong in the elite tier of motorcycling. Jerez is the ultimate judge of a motorcycle's soul. It is a technical masterpiece of a track, where the dry sack braking zone rewards the brave and the Lewis Pons curve punishes the weak. For Toprak, this is his home away from home. He knows these corners better than his own heart rate. During the final practice, Toprak puts in a lap that defies the laws of the 2026 season. He is sideways, the rear tire smoking, the front wheel hovering inches off the tarmac. For a moment, the old Toprak is back. The paddock holds its breath. Is the Pramac data finally working? Has the second factory strategy found the magic bullet? But then the twist. In the final sector of his flying lap, the bike stutters. A technical glitch, a ghost in the new real-time data system, forces the engine into a limp mode. Toprak returns to the pits, slamming his gloves onto the fuel tank. The sophisticated technology that was supposed to save Yamaha has just become their greatest enemy. Saturday night in the Jerez paddock is a time for desperate men to make desperate choices. The data from the Pramac bikes suggests a setup that is counterintuitive to everything Toprak believes about racing. It requires a smoother, more passive style, a complete rejection of the stop-and-go brilliance that made him a champion. The engineers present the data. The numbers don't lie. If he rides like a normal MotoGP rider, the bike is 0.2 faster. If he rides like Toprak, he will destroy the rear tire by lap 10. It is a crisis of faith. Does he trust the machine or does he trust the man? Reports from insiders suggest that a secret meeting took place late into the night. Yamaha management, desperate for a result on European soil, has reportedly put immense pressure on Toprak to adopt the calculated approach. But Toprak isn't a calculator, he's a weapon. And as the sun begins to rise over the Spanish hills on race day, the paddock discovers something that shocks everyone. The lights go out and the roar of 22 engines tears the air of Jerez apart. Toprak launches from the second row, a blue streak amidst a sea of red Ducatis. For the first 5 laps, he is a man possessed. He ignores the telemetry. He ignores the safe map. He rides with a fury that suggests he is willing to crash just to feel the limit. But as the race enters its midpoint, the reality of Yamaha's situation becomes clear. The Pramac experiment has provided the data, but it hasn't provided the soul. Toprak is hanging on by a thread, his tires shredded, his body battered by the physical strain of wrestling a bike that doesn't want to be ridden this way. He finishes the race not on the podium but in a hard-fought 5th place. To the outside world, it's a respectable result. To Yamaha, it's a sign of a deeper rot. The bold move to make Pramac the key to development has yielded data, but it has also highlighted a staggering truth: you cannot automate a champion's instinct. As the trucks pack up for the next round, the question remains. Yamaha's boldest gamble wasn't the engine or the satellite team. It was believing they could solve a human problem with a digital solution. But what the paddock discovered next would change the championship narrative entirely. The 2026 season was never about the bike. It was about whether the last great analog rider could survive in a digital world, and the answer is still blowing in the Spanish wind.